Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 30. We'll be doing 30, 31, 32 and 33 to the end of the chapter. So we'll start with text 30. Title of the chapter is Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. Chara charako bhagavan hidram ahindra bandhum salilo bhagavatam Kirita sahasra hiranya shridam Avirbhavatko stavaratna garbham Chara charako bhagavan hidram Ahindra bandhum salilo padidam Kirita sahasra hiranya shridam Avirbhavatko stavaratna garbham Chara charako bhagavan hidram Ahindra bandhum salilo pagudam Kirita sahasra hiranya shvigam Avirbhavatkastu bharatna garbham Chara, moving animals. Achara, non-moving trees. Okaha, the place or situation. Bhagavat, the personality of Godhead. Mahidram, the mountain. Ahi Indra, Shri Anantadev. Banham, friend. Salila, water. Upagudham, submerged. Kirita, helmets. Sahasra, thousands. Hiranya, gold. Shringham, peaks. Avirbhavat, manifested. Kaustuba, the Kaustuba jewel. Ratnagarbham, ocean. Translation, like a great mountain, the Lord stands as the abode for all moving and non-moving living entities. He is the friend of the snakes because Lord Ananta is his friend. As a mountain has thousands of golden peaks, so the Lord was seen with thousands of golden helmeted hoods of Ananta Naga. And as a mountain is sometimes filled with jewels, also his transcendental body was fully decorated with valuable jewels. As a mountain is sometimes submerged in the ocean water, so the Lord is sometimes submerged in the water of devastation. Text 31. Lord Brahma, thus looking upon the Lord in the shape of a mountain, concluded that he was Hari, the personality of Godhead. He saw that the garland of flowers on his chest glorified him with Vedic wisdom in sweet songs and looked very beautiful. He was protected by the Sudarshan wheel for fighting and even the sun, moon, air, fire, etc., could not have access to him. Text 32. When Lord Brahma, the maker of the universal destination, thus saw the Lord, he simultaneously glanced over creation. Lord Brahma saw the lake in Lord Vishnu's navel and the lotus flower, as well as the devastating water, the drying air and the sky. All became visible to him. It's like a panorama. Text 33. Lord Brahma, thus being surcharged with the mode of passion, became inclined to create. And after seeing the 5 causes of creation indicated by the personality of Godhead, he began to offer his respectful prayers on the path of the creative mentality. Purport by Srila Prabhupada: even if one is in the material mode of passion to create something in the world, he has to take shelter of the Supreme for the necessary energy. This is the path of the successful termination of any attempt. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Manifestation of Lord Brahma from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Magina Timarandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chaksu Vandalatam Yenata Sve Shri Gurave Namaha Durga Me Parimendasya Skadepati Kati Mahusakripa Yusna Shanto Valambanam. So we have these last 4 beautiful verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Brahma finally gets the revelation of the universe within, the supreme beauty of Lord Vishnu lying on his bed of Ananta Shesh, that multi-thousand hooded serpent, which is an incarnation of the Lord's original energy, Sankarshan, and his service was to make the bed comfortable for Lord Vishnu lying on the Garbhodak ocean. The one thing we know about Anantashesh is that he has thousands of hoods, and he is always glorifying the pastimes of Lord Krishna in all the different multifarious universes. And even though he's got thousands of hoods, he still can't come to the end of all the glorifications. So that just gives us a glimpse of the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Brahma, he's the Adhikariya within. It says in the first aphorism of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmari Yasha Taratas Vigna Svarat Brahma Hridaya Adhikariya Moyat Surat Santi. Pretty rusty. So Brahma is the original firstborn that was created for the purpose of the potency to create within this material world. And he was given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the beginning, Janmidi Asya Itaratas Svarat, that the Lord is the Supreme Person, he is the Supreme Creator, and from him everything came. So within this universe, he gave birth to Lord Brahma as the firstborn. So, of course, Lord Brahma, we've just been reading this whole chapter, how he became confused as to what is my purpose and mission here in this material universe. Momentarily confusion within this universe is not surprising, actually, because the living entity is very much subject to confusion at different points in time due to his temporary nature that is very, very forgetful. So Lord Brahma's situation is that sometimes he forgets how to create from one day to the next, but the day between being 8,640,000 million years in between morning and night. Well, it's a long time. So, Lord Brahma, here's the words, ta and pa, tapasya. So, that means that he becomes very, very still, quiet, and he begins to meditate. And in the last purport here by Srila Prabhupada said that state is creation. To create anything, that surrender is needed. So Lord Brahma not only obtained the power by his meditation for a really long duration of time to manifest the universe in its entirety, but he also, because he was a devotee, he got to see Krishna's original abode, which is really an amazing thing. I believe in the Shastra it says that not all Lord Brahmas are actually devotees of Lord Krishna. But in this particular case, because Krishna revealed his potencies and his original home in Vrindavan, and we get that through the Lord Brahma's prayers, which so mercifully was given to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the incarnation of Krishna 500 years ago, when he found these prayers in some temple in South India. No one knew they existed for so many years. Also, it was only the 5th chapter, mind you, but still, it's the most beautiful chapter, and we sing it every morning, the Vindamadi Pusham prayers. So there it talks about Lord Krishna and his supreme abode. So, of course, Lord Brahma was meditating, and then he saw that supreme abode, he saw Lord Krishna, all his loving associates there, and all the wonderful, amazing pastimes in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And then after that, Krishna revealed all his potencies to Lord Brahma about Devi Dham and Mahesh Dham and all the different planets, and how the universe is coming about under the order of Krishna. And he was meditating on that, and then everything started to become revealed. And when he opened his eyes, he looked down. There he saw this huge mountain-like form of Lord Vishnu, and how beautifully is it described that Lord Vishnu was described as sometimes being a mountain that is submerged by the waters, like mountains are submerged and they reappear. So this mountain was submerged by the waters of devastation, because it's just a simile. Because Lord Vishnu's body and his chest and his all his ornaments, they were just so beautifully adorned. And then Lord Brahma became imbued with the energy to create this material universe, and he got the knowledge. So it all became possible through him meditating on those two words, tapa, that initiated the process of meditation. So that also resonates throughout the whole material universe, the word tapa, because that is the process of mystic yoga. So Lord Brahma, he went into this yogic slumber, and we can say it was a mystic yoga because you learn all these powers of mysticism, and that is inherent throughout the whole universe. At different points in time and different places in the universe, we have the 8 mystic cities. I know a few of them in Sanskrit, and I'm going to ask you the other cities in a second there. I see that so if you put up a hand. So we got Lagama city, Prapti city, okay, I know 2. And Sophia, can you help me out with some? Even in English? Was Anima smaller than the smallest? Okay, thank you very much, Lagama. So with these cities, these 8 mystic cities, we can have all the power that is invested in the yogi, that he can do so many wonderful things just by the power of his mind. But to get to that process, you have to perform tapasya. That is just learning how to control your mind. So there you have to abstain from sex, you have to regulate your sleeping habits, you have to minimize your eating, and just completely sit still in a very isolated position and just focus your mind within. And after a period of time, then you become very, very, very powerful. So that mystic city process was followed. It's been followed throughout, and it was still prevalent until just recently. We were talking, I was having conversation with other devotees about the Kumbh Mela. So has anybody been to a Kumbh Mela in India? I went to one in 1972. And the Kumbh means a gathering, and Mela means like a fair. So sometimes we have a fair. So all the yogis from all over India come for this Kumbh Mela. So every 4 years every year there's a Mela or a gathering. Every 4 years there's a Kumbh Mela, and every 12 years there's a Maha Kumbh Mela. So I happened to go to one in Rishikesh, which was a Kumbh Mela, which happened every 4 years in so give away something. In the 70s, Kumbh Mela in Rishikesh here. So it was rather a prolific event, and I had my eyes wide open because I'd never experienced anything about spiritual life. I knew nothing. I was just like a sort of foreign being landing in a land of 8 million Hindus. But in those places, the yogis do come down from the mountains, and a lot of them have been practicing their mystic cities. And if you looked around enough, you see a lot of them performing austerities. Some were standing on one hand, hand up in the air. Others were standing on one leg. There was other yogis on beds of nails, just lying on beds of nails. And previously there was a description by a lady who went to a Kumbh Mela 100 years before. And even before that, there was even more further austerities that yogis were suspended by hooks in their chest and revolving around, rather gruesome, revolving around these ropes. And there was other yogis that had little cows, little Kamadhenu cows. They hardly exist anymore, but they're walking around with their cows. So it was like a fair. It was a spectacular, and each particular sadhu yogi had his own disciples, and they were reciting the mantras and doing the mudras and the sud mudras and the malas, were tattooing on their malas, trying to attract people to their particular type of faith. So that mystic city was still there, was still prevalent. In fact, it's said that, like, sometimes the yogis, they get to control time and space. So they can appear in one spot and disappear, and then appear in another spot in a river down in all the different holy places. In fact, I believe I was a witness to that, because when I was walking down the river one day, I looked and there was this yogi right in the middle of the Ganges River having a bath. And if you know the Ganga, it is just so powerful that if you go too far, if you go 2 feet past the bank, it'll just sweep you down the river, and there's no hope for you to swim out, especially because the current is so strong. But the yogis, this yogi is just standing in the middle, just going, splashing water under his arms, splashing water under his head. So my understanding, I was just listening to a tape, and my understanding is that the yogis who develop these mystic cities, they can duck under one river in one place like Rishikesh, and then they can appear in Prayag by their prowess. And so listening to Sridhar Swami talk about this, he said, I've just been reading a book by Sadhguru. I want to repeat it. He said, even I can't understand it, but Sadhguru was one of our genius scientists. We figured out that you know, that we live in a three-dimensional world, and we always talk about the fourth dimension. But Sadhu Buddha said there's 26 dimensions or 24 dimensions, we just don't know them. But the yogis are familiar with these dimensions, and he gave the example that if you get a graph, you know, and you see it, we all have graphs, little squares on it, and you overlay another graph with it that goes at a different angle, and all the points touch together, and then you put another graph on top of that, then everything is united. And so the yogi, he's sort of got one point that he can unite with another point, to go from one point to another. So they're actually connected with the other dimension, where they can travel from one planet to another. There you go, simple as that, right? You understand that? That's clear. So I'm saying that because recently we were just reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam that there was a discourse on the Srimad Bhagavatam on the banks of the river, and all the yogis throughout the universe appeared for the discourse. So it said that they come out of the Ganges and their hair was wet. So the devotees use the celestial Ganga that flows throughout the universe. They can go from not only one place on the earth to another place, from Hapa to Prayag to wherever Calcutta was in those days, but they can also go from one place in the universe to the other place, like they're travelling through space, because they have control of the space. For us in our tiny scientific minds, it is beyond our comprehension, because we're actually we're mortal beings, we have more life, we have limited knowledge. But this just accentuates the fact that mystic yoga is a science, and to actually get to that process of mystic yoga, you have to perform many austerities. So in the beginning, there was many mystic yogis that could do great things. Just like Talaka Muni, we hear Augustine Muni, we hear about him finding Govardhana Hill and lifting him on his little finger and transporting Govardhana Hill to wherever Govardhana Hill wanted to stay, which was in Vrindavan. He wanted to go further, he wanted to go to Varanasi, but Govardhana didn't really want to hear those two words, mukti and moksha, and all the time he wanted to hear about Krishna's pastimes, and Krishna dancing on his beautiful body, filled with grasses and caves and jewels and so forth. So also we hear about other mystics who develop, who actually want to develop so much power and energy, and we have certain, like the Vasu Muni, and sometimes they cause a bit of mischief. And then we have the demoniac souls who understand mystic yoga, and they develop their mystic powers to such a degree, such two mystic great demonic yogis was Hiranyaksha, who became so powerful that he actually drilled the earth full of holes looking for gold, that the earth sank in the ocean, and then Lord Vishnu was obliged to come and save the earth planet. So this is the story of Lord Vishnu being the maintainer. So Lord Brahma is the creator, and Lord Vishnu is the maintainer, as did with Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu, he performed so many austerities, he knows austerities. You try it sometimes. Stand on the tips of your toes and hold your hands up there and see how long you can do it. So Hiranyakashipu did it for 100 celestial years, and he became so powerful that his body actually just became emaciated and was eaten by all the termites and insects, but he still kept the live hairs within his body. And it was so powerful that all this earth and this fire started coming out of his head, he started scorching the universe. So at that point in time, the demigods, they were in great distress because they're the maintainers of the universe, but they couldn't do anything about it because the universe was being threatened. So then they killed the Lord Vishnu, and of course Lord Vishnu is the supreme maintainer, so he took care of that situation by appearing in one of his wonderful forms as Lord Sringadev, and he actually dispatched all the benedictions that Lord Brahma gave Hiranyakasipu, because Hiranyakasipu wanted to become immortal. He was a great enemy of Lord Vishnu, and he knew Lord Vishnu was immortal, he wanted to become immortal. So it's quite funny actually, wasn't it, all the benedictions that he got, that he couldn't get immortality from Lord Brahma. No one can give immortality, only Lord Vishnu can do that. But he said, well, give me all these privileges that I can't be destroyed inside or outside of building and dwelling. I can't be killed daytime and nighttime. I can't be killed by any weapons. I can't be killed by humans or demigods, and so on and so forth. I can't be killed inside or outside, and so on and so forth. But then Lord Vishnu appeared as Lord Nrsingadev, and he bifurcated him on the steps of a palace which was neither inside nor outside, with his nails, which wasn't a weapon, and he wasn't a human being because he's half, or a demigod because he's half man, half lion. So you can't outwit Lord Vishnu. It's as simple as that. The Lord Vishnu is the maintainer. So just quickly, I'm just jumping ahead of myself a little bit here, but going back to mystic yogis, we have a little bit of in the last indication, we have a story about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how some mystic yogi said that he was Vishnu and he controlled people's minds, and he was getting all the female population to have rasa dance with him at night, creating a big disturbance. And nobody could do anything about it because of his power. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the 1800s, he was the High Court judge, and he went to him and he arrested him for pretending to be Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then Bimala warned him, he said, you arrest me, then your whole family will be ruined. But actually, the devotee, being a devotee, prayed to Krishna, and even though that yogi tried to inflict so many diseases upon him, Lord Bhaktivinoda actually got sick, and his family got sick, and then he realised that yogi could pull that mystic power in his hair, and he cut his hair, and immediately Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his family recovered, and that mystic yogi lost all his potency. So mysticism. So actually, Lord Brahma, he was the greatest of all mystics. He meditated for the longest period of time. So his task that he had to create, in the beginning he had to create 33 million demigods, so they could maintain that universe properly. And then he also had to facilitate 8,400,000 different species of life, which was done with the help of all the Prajapatis. And so that was his job of creation. And of course, we know that God is the creator. So with the creator, as Papa was saying in the purport here, that we have the mode of passion. And as maintainer, Lord Vishnu is in the heart of all living entities. Not only that, but he's also the maintainer, like he's in the mode of goodness. And then Lord Shiva is the destroyer. So we understand that actually to create anything, that we give credence to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like when the devotees we create, then we have all these samskaras. If we are building a temple, then we have all these Vedic rituals which we praise the Lord, and we have groundbreaking ceremonies. We playing Lord Vishnu in the ground for a temple so he can hold up the dwelling and so maintain the spiritual potency of the dwelling. So we all have this right, so we give credit to the Lord for the process of maintenance. So this has to occur. So, of course, Lord Vishnu, by his mercy, is also maintaining this universe with all the different cycles and the yugas. This is by his mercy. Lord Brahma is just a facilitator, he's the architect, but in actuality, Lord Vishnu, he is the source of everything. And there is a process by which everything runs smoothly, and it's given to us in the Bhagavad Gita. Sahajya Prajashvishra Prajapati Anena Prashasya Dam Issa Studas to come and bring. That says in the beginning creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods, just like I said, 33 million demigods and all the different species, along with sacrifice to Vishnu, all of the gratitude. We call it gratitude in this day and age, that we have to show gratitude to anybody who gives us anything, any reciprocation. There is gratitude. So there is so many different hotras and yajnas that we can perform. In our respect, the fact that Lord Vishnu provides anything that we create, it's from Lord Vishnu, all the materials are his. And Lord Vishnu blessed them by saying, be thou happy by this yajna, because everything that is necessary for living will be provided for you. So that is the process. But when the process gets forgotten, then there is an upheaval in the universe. Like Krishna described in Bhagavad Gita, Pritranaya Sadnam Nasya Chatuskrikam, wherever there is a rise in the religion, I descend myself to annihilate the miscreants. So I just spoke about Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha, who created such upheaval that all the demigods couldn't deal with it, so they went to Lord Vishnu. And then Lord Krishna, the person who spoke the Bhagavad Gita, he had to come also because there was a big upheaval there. Kamsa and all his followers, all the demons, they were so prolific throughout the universe that the demigods were bewildered. And they went to pray to Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk. And Lord Vishnu, being Supreme Personality, the God representation of Krishna, said that actually this is a job for Krishna, the Supreme Person. So then they all invited Krishna to come, and then they got the word that actually Krishna's coming soon, and all the demigods should take birth on the earth planet Vrindavan as devotees of Krishna, and Krishna will deal with this. And Krishna actually came and had these wonderful pastimes, very attractive pastimes, a manifestation of what we sing about Krishna in the spiritual world, that there were thousands of Lakshmis, cowherd girls, hundreds of thousands of cows and cowherd boys and loving parents, and everybody was taken care of and everybody was in complete bliss. And this was manifested on this earth 5,000 years ago, a direct representation of the spiritual world. In one sense we can say we are an embassy to the spiritual world, because we have Krishna here, we have his holy names. So then Krishna, by his pastimes, he sorted out the demons, and this is one of his wonderful qualities, which Lord Vishnu couldn't do. If we think about it, Lord Vishnu can't perform these so many wonderful pastimes that Krishna performed, nor does he have the beauty that Krishna has, nor can he play the flute, nor does he have so many wonderful followers. So it is understandable that Lord Vishnu invited Krishna to come, and he wanted to see him himself because Krishna is the Supreme Person. And so then Krishna not only sorted out all the demons, Pritranaya Sadhanam, re-established religious principles, but he also corrected the consciousness of some of the demigods, because the demigods are being puffed up because of all the worship they were getting they were starting to, their ego was starting to get a little bit puffed up, thinking that they were the supreme. So Krishna then, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, and that was the basis process for our spiritual journey throughout the age of Kali. This is the basic, like we call it, the manual. So there is a manual for everything. So the Bhagavad Gita is the manual for existing on the spiritual platform in the age of Kali Yuga. And this was inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya especially 500 years ago for the benefit of the whole world, and how to apply the process of bhakti, which is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. And in that line of Lord Chaitanya, that bhakti is mentioned, and that bhakti changes the heart, revolutionises the soul. Previous to that, not in the line that the Bhagavad Gita was existing, there were so many translations, but like Srila Prabhupada said, so many Bhagavad Gitas, but how many devotees have they made? They were just like people did not understand the process of bhakti due to the fact that the people writing the Bhagavad Gita were not in the cyclic succession to Lord Krishna, and they were writing in the mood of the fact that Krishna was not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were writing from the impersonal point of view. So Srila Prabhupada, he passed this on because Lord Chaitanya said that this process is the process for the whole world. And Srila Prabhupada is the 32nd in line to Lord Chaitanya. Did you all know that? So that is so close that we're only 500 years past. And it's only 50 years since Srila Prabhupada fulfilled that prediction. Lord Chaitanya started making that prediction come true, that the mission of this mission of chanting Hare Krishna is going to be heard in every town and village all over the world. So this is wonderful. So in the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that the yoginam apisarva samakya. So the devotee, he is the highest of all the yogis. So we try and work this out. If we're higher than these yogis, what about these mystic yogis who can perform all these great austerities, whatever? But it's said, Prabhupada says that actually the pure devotee, he can perform all these austerities that the mystic yogis are there that have just by his bhakti, his love and devotion to Krishna. Krishna gives the devotee everything. But the devotee doesn't want to actually have these mystic prowesses. They're just material things, and they're an imposition. The devotee just wants complete service to the Lord. But sometimes Krishna, by his causeless mercy, he does wonderful things for the devotees, and he serves the devotees in his own right. So the devotee is very, very dear to Lord Krishna. So sometimes Krishna serves the devotees called Kripa Siddhi, but in fact our attitude is bhakti, that despite whatever the material energy does, instead of asking Krishna, please relieve us from this material energy, we realise this is an opportunity for the spirit soul to actually understand our relationship with Krishna, either in easy situations or difficult situations as they come along. There's always different situations. And the hardest thing about material energy is maintenance. Just we see that there is creation, that is very, very easy to do, but maintenance is a very, very difficult thing. This is why sometimes governments, they come and go because of maintenance. It's all about maintenance of the citizens, about food supplies, about electricity, about water, about roads, looking after the aged, having a proper defence system, much more. Maintenance is a very, very difficult thing. And so the devotees also, we're Although we're great yogis and great bhakti yogis, still maintenance in the age of Kali is a very difficult thing, particularly in our case that a lot of us are these creeper cities, we're mercy cases. Prabhupada sometimes said that actually trying to become purified is like cleaning charcoal, right? So sometimes we're like that, we're trying to become purified so much and the material energy is so strong. So we learn lessons from Srila Prabhupada, who was so fastidious about cleanliness. We all know that saying, cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And Prabhupada always used to tell us that. He always, it's really, I think Krishna Rupa can attest to this also. She probably got a few stories that we'd have a temple there and Prabhupada would come to some temple and all the devotees would be chanting and glorifying Srila Prabhupada, but sooner or later Prabhupada just look in some cupboard or he'd go into some room and they'd just thrown everything into the room, it was all cluttered up, and he'd look in the door and goes, what's this? And then, you know, it chastised the devotees that should keep the temple clean everywhere. So, Kripa City, so we were learning lessons from Srila Prabhupada not to suffer the symptoms of the Kali Yuga that we've been inflicted with in this material energy. So that we know the symptoms of Kali, it's very difficult that we're lazy. Symptoms are laziness, misguided, unlucky, disturbed. So that's there, but they're just symptoms. We can fight the symptoms, just like we have symptoms, like we get flu symptoms. What do? We take vitamin C and we sort of try cough medicine, whatever. We try to fight the flu. So we try to fight off Kali Yuga by this process of Krishna consciousness, of chanting and remembering the spiritual master and remembering spiritual life and remembering that maintenance is such a wonderful thing, that it's a godly quality, that when we do maintenance, then it prolongs our life, establishes us in the mode of goodness, makes us healthy, gives us vitality and helps us to chant and remember the Lord's name in great happiness. How easy is that? Well, I'll tell you how easy it is. We're running out of firewood here. We don't have enough fire for tomorrow, so that's a question of maintenance. So, you know, we appeal to people about some firewood. Yeah, maybe this, maybe that. So we'll just see how good we are at maintenance. If we see a stash of firewood happen tomorrow, we'll have another fire tomorrow. So it's an ongoing process, mowing the lawns and looking after the roads, and it's actually, we're all involved. It's not just we leave it to somebody else, but actually there is so much maintenance here. Cleaning the temple, and devotees, because serving Krishna so nicely, we do get so many nice comments about how this farm has been maintained so well. But it is an ongoing process. In the age of Kali, it never stops. So therefore, Bhakti Yoga never stops, and so therefore we just keep moving forward and we can't stop. We just keep training ourselves and become fixed, Dridavratas. And that Dridavrata gives us the knowledge that we're looking for, that ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. So today is a very auspicious day. It's the marriage of two of our favourite people, Devi Shakti and Sri Chaitanya Prabhu. It's going to be a great event. And we also, I just ask everybody if they can please pray for Krishna Kirtan, who's actually struggling to maintain his life airs in his body, and we need Krishna Kirtan here a lot longer. So let's become fixed in our prayers and also celebrate the wonderful marriage of Devi and the Sri Prabhu. Thank you very much. We have a couple of minutes. Would anybody like to make a comment, ask a question, comment?
Thank you for the very nice class, Prabhu. Actually, when you were talking about the Kumbh Mela and talking about the yogis coming down from the Himalayas, I remember when Prabhupada first took his disciples to the Kumbh Mela. I'm not sure if it was 71 or 72. And Prabhupada told them actually that some of those...
73.
73, thank you.
Yeah.
Some of those yogis were actually 400 years old, and they controlled their prana, prana in the Himalayas, breathing, very little. And some of them were that old, and that was from Prabhupada's lips. It's quite amazing, the Kumbh Mela.
Yeah, so Sridhar Swami was there, and he said he walked around and he saw a lot of magnificent sights there that, at that point in time, there were mystic yogis that were practicing the mystic cities there. But the purpose of the mystic cities for these people is that they can show off, right? They're called show-offs. But the real mystic cities, like Prabhupada said, was my mystic city is that I make these hippies into happies, all these sort of people who just completely degenerate, have become degenerate in this material world. All of a sudden they're bright shaven heads and wearing robes and saris, and they're ecstatically chanting the names of the Lord, and they're going back to Godhead. What a turnaround.
And the other thing I wanted to mention about, you were talking about the maintenance, and Prabhupada was very, very, very particular about how everything was cleaned. I cleaned his quarters when he was there. It was a real drama to make sure everything was perfect. And in Vrindavan in 1973, it was still a construction site there. Raman Reti, the Krishna Balaram temple was only about 3 layers of bricks. Everywhere was just a major construction site. But Prabhupada's rooms had been partially completed, but the floor was still that rough concrete. And I was helping Yamuna clean Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada came in a little early. And you can imagine how difficult it was to clean that, because the dust was always coming up from the raw concrete. And Prabhupada wiped his finger on his desk and held it up and went, "This has not been cleaned."
You haven't got to it yet. Can't tell them that. Prabhupada, we're just going to get to that next.
You can say
You can't say that. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.